Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of my multiplayer server. Now, this was already the 35th round, and usually every 5th round is a team round or some other special round. But here, once again, we had a team round. So in the end, we had 9 teams who completed their plots. So in this video, I will guide you through all the finished plots. And I'll start with the one that got 9th place. And I'll finish with the winners of the round. Now, there were 2 plots that were sadly not very finished. There's this plot with the big American flag. Sadly, the plot is on fire for some reason. I don't really know why, but I believe the paths spell out we failed. So yeah, there's that. And there's also this plot. I have no idea what this was supposed to be. But yeah, it's not very finished. Anyway, let's start off with the plot that got 9th place. Alright, here in 9th place we have the plot made by Risico and Scottish Novice. I will quickly use the cutaway view. I will use that in most of the plots here, because the area is very dense. Hold on. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to select the area you want, especially if there's land in front blocking tiles you want to select. Anyway, here's the plot. Immediately what I like a lot is this scarecrow that they made. I think it's really creative. So yeah, there's a mixture of some coaster tracks for the arms, there's a pumpkin on top for the head, with one of those teepees on top for the head. Also this giant grass for the body. That's really creative. I like it a lot. Also there's a big pumpkin here. I also like this a lot. It's a nice mixture of elements here. So yeah, that's really nice. Looks like there's also a mini golf here. So yeah, that's really cool. Well, other than that, there's several buildings here with rides inside them. Also, there's some really nice buildings here. So yeah, the most complaints that people had about this plot were about the buildings. While they look nice, they do look a little bit boxy, and maybe the buildings have a little bit too much outline. So yeah, sometimes it's best to not completely cover your building with these poles and these wooden post fences. Sometimes it's nicer to, well yeah, just don't completely cover them in lines. Usually you should try to find a balance between adding these lines on the outside and not adding them. But overall, I think this is a nice plot, and yeah, overall in this round there was really good quality of buildings and rides. Now I do find this boat ride a little bit weird. It's quite fast, and for some reason there's 4 boats going in a line. Usually when you make a lazy river like this, the boats should really probably travel at a slow speed. But at least I do think it's a creative ride. Although quite unusual. Alright, on to the next plot. Okay, here we have the plot made by Anda23 and Davey. Looks like they abbreviated the name to Andavy. That's actually quite funny if you're Dutch. So yeah, there's this cool coaster going around the plot. I really like this horse ride also. So yeah, here you can see this this horse that travels around this pole several times. I think it's shoestringed. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. What you can see here also is they probably forgot to hide this piece of queue or maybe they liked it, I don't know, but I would probably try to hide it. It probably looks better if you don't see it. Other than that, there's some really nice stuff on this plot. I really like this farm land. That's quite cool. So there's some of these trenches for water, some silos. It's all really nice. Also some nice buildings over here. So with some pirate stuff. Not really sure if it's supposed to show pirate flags. Snappy's shirt, that says. Maybe Snappy's a pirate, I don't know. For this building, yeah, the top hat looks a little bit wide for such a small coaster, for such a low top hat. So yeah, I think that looks kind of strange. The church here probably is also a little bit too low for my liking. When you make a church, you'll probably want to make the tower a bit higher, or maybe just give the entire church an extra floor. Just make it look a little bit more impressive. So I know it's quite difficult to fit a coaster into a small plot like this, but when people make a coaster, I generally don't really like when they go underground for a long time. But yeah, I do agree that it's quite difficult to make a nice looking coaster on a plot like this. But yeah, overall, I do like all the decorations here. Also some nice tents here, stuff like that. So yeah, overall there's really nice details. So this is definitely a great work. Alright, here we have the entry made by Skiffa and Alex Vermeulen. Yeah, I must say I'm really impressed with this Stargate. I don't really know what it has to do with autumn, but it does look really good within this palette. The palette, by the way, was made by Suormot in one of his contest entries, and that's the palette that we used for this round. So yeah, it doesn't have any green colors, but so yeah, it's more of an autumn palette. The colors are very warm, but yeah, I think the trees look really good in this, and yeah, I think the people in this round used the palette very well. Back to this plot. So yeah, it's very dense with coasters. The coasters look quite nice. They also planned a Ferris wheel here. I believe it used to work. It was shoestringed, but Alex said that he somehow broke the ride, and then he wasn't able to get it working anymore. And Skiffa was in the middle of moving places, so that's why Skiffa didn't have time to fix it. So yeah, I think this plot could have scored a lot higher if it was completely finished, if the Ferris wheel was working, and probably the queue area here could have also used some work. But yeah, this plot definitely had promise if it was fully completed. But overall, you can see a lot of detail. I really like the buildings, and this Stargate is absolutely fantastic. Alright, here's the plot made by Ayrton and Bamovic. So yeah, they made this really cool looking plot over here. It has a wooden coaster with a mine train. Also has this really strange launched freefall ride. And there's even some horses going around the plot in a really crazy way. So yeah, let's start with this launched freefall. So I guess enter this car here. Then they get launched upwards here. That looks quite uncomfortable, to be honest. So yeah, you get this by changing a launched freefall into a different ride, completing the track with a coaster track, and then changing it back to a launched freefall. It has this really crazy circuit. It might be a little bit too crazy, because this would hurt, but at least it does look quite cool. Now, other than that, there's this wooden coaster here. It's quite difficult to follow through the plot, but yeah, I believe it travels here underground. There's even a little bit of a lunch section here. Not really sure. Anyway, it travels here underground. And here there's a big knot of track. Ah, you can see the coaster getting launched up the hill there. There's a big knot of track, and the coaster travels all throughout the plot. So yeah, this plot is really full of track. There's some nice buildings here as well. Even a shoestringed ride here with these little mine cars. Those are pretty cool. Also funny, their team name was Top 10 or Bust. But since only 9 players finished their plots, they definitely made it to the top 10. So congratulations on that. Oh yeah, what I also really like is this sign they made for the ride called Buzzsaw. So yeah, while simple, it's actually pretty cool and effective. So yeah, there's just these signs with these cog wheels behind them, which look like saw blades. So yeah, I think it's a really neat plot. Alright, here we have the plot made by Suormot and Snack Time. Suormot was also the person who made this palette. So yeah, there's a really nice church here. I really like the way this looks. These windows are fantastic. Also, I really love the structure of this building. It is a little bit glitchy, but I can live with that. So yeah, when you make a building, they used these stone skyscraper fillers on the outside, and they're a great way to add some depth to your buildings. So yeah, just place a wall, put some of these sandstone skyscraper fillers on the side, and I think it makes your building look great. Also a nice roof on top of the building. When you make these wooden coaster roofs, it's usually best to also put something on top, like a car ride track, just to fill in these gaps. But yeah, this church is definitely my favorite part of this plot. The most complaints people had were really about the coasters on the plot. They're they're not that good. So here we have this limb-launched coaster. It shoots up this through this top hat, and there's a 180 back to the station. I think it does 3 circuits. So yeah, it's not very realistic. It would probably be quite painful here at the slope upwards and here at the bottom. Also the twister, it does some weird things. But yeah, overall the buildings on this plot are absolutely fantastic. I really love the church and all these buildings. They look great. Coasters, a little bit less impressive, but still, this plot is really nice to look at. So, great work. Alright, there was actually a tie between the previous team and this team. This plot was made by Pinyan and Phoenix Wing 101. And they made this really nice plot with a big tree in the middle, with a tree house in it, or a tree castle. So also an elevator ride taking them upwards. And Phoenix Wing and Pinyan made this Eurofighter coaster. Phoenix Wing was really complaining that the Eurofighter for the contest we are currently doing had to have a beyond vertical drop, and she didn't like that. So in this plot she made one without a beyond vertical drop. But yeah, I think the layout is quite nice. Maybe it could have been a little bit more inversion oriented, like normal Eurofighters are. But I think the color scheme of the Eurofighter works really well in this plot. His flag is probably a little bit too bright compared to the other colors in this plot. Some different colors would have probably suited it better. Again, here's a nice building, also using these one of these corner pieces from one of the expansions. This one's called Prison Wall Corner. I think it works really well on this building to give it sort of a concrete look, or like vintage wood, something like that. But yeah, I really like the look of this building, and these planters also look great on the outside. Really nice buildings throughout the plot. And I also really like this swinging ride. I made one in my mega park, and it's funny to see more people building rides like these nowadays. They're quite easy to make, and they're great additions to any park. But yeah, great plot, great work. I hope to see more from these players in the future. Okay, here we have the plot made by Mamarias and Trumafarium. They call their team Mamafarium, which I think is the greatest team name. So yeah, I think this is a lovely plot. It uses the palette really well, especially these volcano pieces. They blend into these rock walls really well. I absolutely love this crane here on top of the hill. Just a great mix of architecture and normal scenery. So yeah, some really nice industry here. There's another little crane here. Even some cars from the expansions. I actually love this. Here you can see, well, maybe not from this angle. But yeah, you can see one of those trucks here, but they actually put some of these Wild West wagons on top, and those mix really well with the truck. So yeah, that's a really neat trick. You can also see a vertical drop roller coaster here. Here's the big vertical drop, and after that it travels through the mountain a few times, doing some inversions here. What I love about this coaster is how they did the supports. So yeah, you can see some cross beams here made with a mini suspended coaster, probably, yes. And they actually moved some of the original supports out of the way to the location where they wanted them, and then put these diagonal beams against them. But yeah, together this just looks really nice. It's probably the best way you can get supports that are not made with custom support pieces. Now here you can also see a ride. It's probably shoestringed, not sure. Oh, it's not even shoestringed. So it's just going around here. You can actually see some guests sitting in here. They're probably getting really nauseous in this ride. But yeah, this is a pretty cool ride. Now this plot is not as crowded as most other entries. I think they used the space they had really well, and this is definitely a entry worthy of third place. Alright, here we have the entry that got second place. This one was made by Shen Kitchen and Mulpia. Both of these players in their contest entries usually do great landscaping, and this plot is no exception. This was actually my favorite plot of the round. There's just, yeah, the landscaping is just done in a fantastic way. Yeah, when you do an entry like this, I think river rapids usually work really well if you just weave them throughout your plot. Also, these waterfalls are done in a brilliant way. I just love all the little decorations around the waterfall. Now, there's also a wooden coaster. Wooden coasters are usually quite big, but so I think it's really impressive if you manage to fit one into your plot in a multiplayer round. And also, I really like the color scheme on a wooden coaster. You can really see Shen Kitchen's hand in this, as the wooden roller coaster has many different track colors throughout the ride, but done in quite a nice way. It's not done in a disturbing way. I think the colors look really nice, and this is really a trademark of Asian Kitchen's entries. So yeah, other than that, some really good looking buildings around the plot. Nice tower over here. Just a big density of stuff on this plot, and I think it looks fantastic. By the way, if you want to take a look at these entries for yourself, you can download this map from my Discord. So we have a channel called Multiplayer Archive. There you can download the maps of this entry and all previous entries, all previous rounds we had. So yeah, you should definitely go download it and take a look for yourself. And if you don't have time to view the map, you can also just download a giant screenshot, and then that's also a way to view the map. Alright, let's go take a look at the winner of this round. Alright, here we have the winner of this round. So yeah, Suspect and Ricardo Vodo worked together to create this amazing plot. So it actually has a dueling sit down and inverted coaster. You can see them leave the station right now. So yeah, they travel up into this castle. This castle looks absolutely amazing. Again, you can see the usage here of these prison corner wall pieces. So yeah, these were added quite recently to the benches of the multiplayer rounds, and it's really nice to see people create this wonderful stuff with them. I also absolutely love the roof of this castle. That looks amazing. It's just clearly Suspect's work. Now here you can see some more really nice buildings. I love the station of this coaster. So yeah, often when people try to make big buildings, you can see a lot of the same wall, a lot of the same roof. But here, Ricardo and Suspect make a really nice mix of buildings. I also like how the paths travel under these buildings. This entry also has some really nice gateways into them. So yeah, there's just some paths under the buildings here. Here's another gate, also passing under an inversion of both coasters. And here's another entryway, also really nicely done. Some really nice interaction with the coasters here, as the bridge passes right over them here. Again, there's just so much nice stuff here. There's also some, I believe they're birds that are flying around here. I think that's also really cool. So there are just some, there are multi-dimension coaster trains flying around. But yeah, I think they're quite convincing as birds. I think that's a really neat trick. Also, I really like the trees that are here on this hill towards the castle. This palette works great with these trees. Anyway, just like the previous entry, you should really go and download the map and check out all these entries for yourself. The players spend a lot of time on them, and I really love the stuff they all came up with. Alright, that was it for this round. I really liked watching all these entries come together, and yeah, the quality of all this stuff is really high. So yeah, if you want to join one of these rounds yourself, a new one will start pretty soon. What I do ask from players is that they become active on my Discord. And then usually within several weeks you become a trusted member, and trusted members are able to play on my server and join these multiplayer rounds. So yeah, there won't all be the team rounds. Usually every 5th round will be a team round. Most rounds are actually individual rounds. The reason I ask from people to become a trusted member is well, yeah, I can't just allow anyone on my server. I've actually made a video that shows what happens if you just let anyone build on your server, and the results weren't pretty. Alright, anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching all these entries, and I will see you again in the next video. See you later.